if you have an aggressive dog, please don't just try to figure it out on your own to save money on getting a dog behaviourist, because while you might save money, it will ultimately cost you later on with a bite, and usually it's a bite given to a friend or family member rather than yourself. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, my dog's aggressive, but they're probably not going to bite someone, you know, like they don't have it in them, it's not in their temperament, you know, she's dead soft, she would never really bite someone, she's just bluffing, or he thinks he's a Rottweiler. Here's the thing, okay, every dog has the potential to bite if pushed far enough, okay? Even if your dog doesn't have an aggressive temperament, or if they've never shown any kind of aggression before, they still have the potential to bite if they're pushed far enough. Now, the thing with dog aggression and why you really shouldn't be trying to figure this out on your own is because with certain things like leash walking or separation anxiety, you can look on the internet for free videos. You can also look at different articles and things like that, and you can try around, you can mess around and find out. But the truth is that even if you do mess up, which most people do, quite honestly, because when you're trying to find free information on the internet, things are a little bit jumbled, right? But if you mess up with leash exercises or things for separation anxiety, you might mess up and it might make the dog a little bit worse, but ultimately there's not a serious consequence to that. Whereas if you try different things that you see on the internet for dog aggression, if you get it wrong, that could result in someone getting a bite. It could result in a person getting a bite, could result in another dog getting a bite, and that is extremely serious, because it might be the case that someone's like, you know what, accidents happen, but also your dog might bite someone who says, no, dangerous dog, get it put down. Like, you don't want to be in that situation, you know? So the other thing that I want to bring to your attention is that a lot of people are trying to get their dogs out of aggressive behaviour without knowing enough. Okay, so we've had a number of messages over the last 7 days, particularly of people looking for sessions for aggression. And we'll give them the information and they'll say, that sounds great, but I'm going to try and sort it by myself. And if I can't do it by myself, I'll get in touch. And on our side of things, we're like, okay, great, we'll hear from you in like 3 weeks' time, because that's usually what happens. So by the time they've tried to fix it on their own for a couple of weeks, usually the dog's bitten someone and that's when they get back in touch. So please don't just try and fix it on your own. But here's something to consider if you are thinking about just trying to get your dog out of aggressive behaviour without any professional guidance. Do you know what the 11 forms of aggression are? Because if you can't even name them, how can you help your dog out of them? Alright? Some dogs will have one form of aggression. Other dogs, they'll have a couple. And if you don't even know what they are or how they develop, then how are you going to get your dog out of that? The truth is you can't, okay? If you don't know what the 11 forms of aggression are, even just by name, then you absolutely don't know enough about aggression to be trying to get your dog out of it. It's too severe just to watch random videos on the internet and hoping for the best. That is incredibly risky. The other thing that I want to mention is that dog trainers and behaviourists, you know, like, we have paid the ultimate price for education and experience in helping dogs with these issues, whether it's aggression or reactivity, okay? We've paid the money for the courses. We have paid to have mentors. We have paid to shadow top behaviourists, okay? We've paid for the webinars and the seminars, and so we've invested a lot of time and money to be really good with working with aggressive dogs and reactive dogs, okay? And we've paid that in time and money, and that is something that the majority of people don't want to invest in. So actually, if you're wanting to help your aggressive dog, it's actually cheaper to get a dog behaviourist in to help you than it is to actually go through all that training on your own, because unless you want to be a dog behaviourist, paying that money to learn about dog aggression and dog reactivity doesn't make sense, okay? But on top of that, what you have to consider is, if all you've learned about dog aggression is online, you have to consider that there's an experience level to that. So if you've never worked with any aggressive dogs before, but you've learned things on online courses, really what you have is book smarts. And what is supposed to work in theory doesn't always work in the real world. Now, if you've never worked with aggressive dogs before, you're not going to understand what really works and what doesn't. So actually trying to fix your dog's aggression on your own is a pretty risky game, you know, and I would love for the information to be free out there, but it's not. If you want in-depth information on dog aggression, that is why trainers and behaviourists like myself, we're paying big money, right? Hundreds and thousands of pounds to get good at helping dogs that are aggressive, dogs that are reactive. It's because it makes sense for us, you know. It makes sense for us to get that education so we can help other people because we're getting paid to help other people. But if you don't want to be a dog trainer and you just want to fix your own dog's aggression, you're better off just getting a dog behaviourist. It'll save you the time and money because we can come in and say, right, okay, the dog's doing this, this and this. This is how we're going to get the dog out of it. And then you've got a tailored plan. You don't have to do much thinking. You just have to say, right, okay, this is the plan and we're going to go for it. The other thing that I want to mention is the difference between working with clients where they have an aggressive dog that hasn't bitten anyone yet and working with aggressive dogs where they have bitten someone, because there's a massive change in mindset. You see, when I'm working with people who have got aggressive dogs but they haven't actually bit anyone yet, they're more laid back, you know, and I mean that in the best way possible, because they're not as panicky, they're not always on edge. But when I'm working with clients who have aggressive dogs and they have bitten someone, they are working with the fear. Every time they leave the house, they're on high alert and they'll see the trigger sometimes before their dog does, and they're already, like, they're panicking. They're already starting to escalate in their own behaviour before their dog is, and that's not great for the dog, because if you can't be calm, neither can your dog, you know. But the reason that you have that mindset shift between someone who has an aggressive dog that hasn't bit anyone yet and somebody who has got an aggressive dog and they have bitten someone, the difference is the person who has the dog with the bite history, they thought their dog would never bite anyone until it did. And so now they're very aware of, crap, like, my dog has got the ability to bite and it will because it's done it in the past. And so because they have that fear, it's very difficult for them to walk past triggers or to work with their dog. It is absolutely possible. It's just more difficult because they're living with the fear of, crap, like, my dog has already bitten someone. And when they see the triggers that their dog is going to go nuts at, what they're replaying in their head is the last time they had to grab their dog off someone. They are replaying that time that their dog viciously attacked another dog. They are replaying the moment that they had to grab their dog off someone's arm or someone's leg. They are replaying how they felt, all shaky and adrenalized, okay? So when they see all of these triggers, because they've experienced their dog biting someone, it becomes incredibly difficult. Whereas the clients that I work with where they haven't had their dog bite anyone yet, that's totally different because they aren't living with that fear quite yet. But if you do have a dog that's being aggressive, honestly, just get help, because you will not realize how isolated you've become until you start getting a bit more freedom. So a lot of our clients who have aggressive dogs, they can't even have people around at the house anymore because their dog goes absolutely nuts, or their dog has bitten one of their family members, and so no one wants to go over. And you know, like, you might be sitting thinking, I'm not bothered, like, I don't have friends and family over. You don't realise how horrible it is to have that freedom taken away until you don't have the choice, until you can't have friends and family around. And there's a lot of people with aggressive dogs just don't bother taking their dogs out because it's too stressful. The problem with that is that they don't take the dog out because it's aggressive, it's stressful, and then because the dog's not getting taken out, it has all this energy. And it usually becomes destructive within the home. I don't care how many licky mats you've got in your house, okay? That is not enough to make up for a dog's walk, okay? So because these dogs don't get to go out, because the experience is so bad, they have all this pent-up energy. It creates more anxiety. It's not a good mindset for the dog to be in. So if your dog is being aggressive, please don't sit and wait too long, because the longer you wait, the more that aggression, that reactivity has to manifest and get worse. And it gets harder to get the dog out of it, the worse that it is. So don't sit on it too long, but don't try to do it on your own, because you'll probably mess it up if you're trying to navigate it on your own, and there's serious consequences to that. So you might be thinking, okay, Lisa, you've made your point. Okay, I know I need help, but what do I do? How do I go about that? Well, if you have an aggressive dog and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get help now, you need to look for a behaviourist who has experience working with aggressive and reactive dogs, because dog trainers have different areas of expertise. Okay, so if there's a dog trainer and they specialise in obedience ain't gonna cut it. Okay, like obedience is not gonna get your dog out of aggression. Okay, so don't go with someone who really just specialises in obedience. Equally, don't go for someone just because they're an ex-police dog trainer or an ex-police dog handler. All right, we've had a number of clients that have come to us for help, and previously they've been to an ex-police dog trainer for reactivity or aggression, and they have just completely relied on punishment-based methods. Okay, it doesn't really surprise me, but that's, you know, so for example, I once had a client who had a little terrier, and this little dog was super aggressive. I mean, if it's a good thing it was a little terrier, because if it was a big dog, it would have been an absolute menace, okay? But this dog was super reactive, super aggressive to any other dog that is seen. And the ex-police dog trainer that this client went to, they actually told them, oh, you need to sedate the dog before you take it out. I'm sorry, sedate the dog before every walk? Like, how is that even manageable, okay? But this is what I mean, like, not all dog trainers and dog behaviourists are created equal. So if you have a dog that is aggressive, you need to look for a dog behaviourist who has got expertise in aggression and reactivity. Now, I'm not saying that you have to come to us, okay, by any means. It's totally up to you who you go with. It's a really important decision, so you have to make sure that you wholeheartedly trust that trainer or behaviourist before you go to them. But I am just going to let you guys know what we offer. So we offer training and rehabilitation services. So we help train and rehabilitate dogs that have behaviour issues. Now, the way that we work is we have a consultation. I'll meet you, meet your dog or your dogs, because you might have more than one, and I get to see the behaviour. And then what I do is a behaviour plan. So we go through a training programme. From then, you get put on a training package, which is basically training sessions, rehabilitation sessions to take your dog from where they are to where you want them to be, okay? Because realistically, you want to be able to have friends and family come to your house without your dog skyrocketing. You want to be able to take your dog for a walk, whether it's on the beach, in a nature reserve, you know, in the park. You want to be able to do that without being completely on edge and going into fight or flight mode because you've just seen the dog in front of you and you know your dog's going to get aggressive, okay? We want you to achieve peace, and so our training programs are designed to help you get there. We do offer payment plans on our packages as well, just in case anybody wants to know. So yes, we do offer those services. If we're not for you, that's totally fine. I mean, you might be watching this live video going, absolutely not with you. That's fine, no offense taken. But if you have enjoyed this video and you think, actually, I wouldn't mind having a session with her, get in touch and we'll get you sorted. So before I go, I just wanted to mention that in the end of April, we're going to have a subscription service available. So within that, we are going to have educational videos, exclusive ones, by the way, educational exclusive training videos, so tutorials and things like that. Also, we've got some written documents because people learn differently. And so I'm very aware that some people pick things up better if they read it rather than if they watch a video. So we're kind of covering all bases there. So it's going to be a really great resource for anybody who just wants to learn a little bit more about dogs and dogs' behaviour. That'll be available, like I say, back end of April. We'll get my words out, Lisa. We will be putting together a waiting list for that. But I'll be sure to let you guys know on our page when that happens. If you watched the last live video that I did, I mentioned that I would like to do a live Q&A for you guys. And initially I was going to do that on Facebook, and then I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought actually I'm going to do it on Zoom. The reason being is a lot of people who have dogs that have behaviour issues become very embarrassed and ashamed of it, and I thought, well, if I do it on Facebook, Facebook is very open, like everyone's profile is public basically, and I thought that might put people off wanting to interact with me and ask me questions, because then they might not want to put a question in case they think it's silly, because they know people can see their name and their profile and stuff. So I thought, well, we're going to do it on Zoom. So basically it'll be a live Q&A. You don't have to have a Zoom account to join the live Q&A. So if you would like to be part of it, just send us a message saying live. I mean, you can put a sentence in there if you want, like you can say, can I join the live? But if you don't want to, that's fine. Just send us a message saying live, literally L-I-V-E, and we'll send you the link for it. All you have to do is click on it at the date and time, and it'll take you to the live Q&A. Once you're on there, you don't have to put your camera on, you don't have to put your microphone on. You can just ask questions in the little text box, okay? And what that means is you'll be in a Zoom with me to ask questions, but it's a private Zoom, okay? So everybody else in there is just like you. They've got questions, they've got, you know, their dog's got behaviour issues. You're all in the same boat. There's absolutely no shame in it. There's no embarrassment. No question is a silly question, but basically what you can do is you can join the Zoom and ask me questions. I will say this, the spaces are limited. That's not me trying to be marketing or like salesy or trying to drive like urgency. It's just that the live videos are going to be quite new. Like I've never done a live Q&A on Zoom before. So I don't know if there's going to be a lot of people wanting to attend or just a couple. So I basically made Distinctive Canine a free Zoom account, and we're limited to how many people can join. If it goes really well and we get lots of people, then fine, I'll pay Zoom a subscription and we can have more people in there. But for now, we are limited to how many people can join the Zoom. So if you would like to join that on the 4th of March at 7:30 p.m, drop us a message. Again, it doesn't have to be anything flash. All you have to do is say live in a message to us and we'll send you that link. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been a useful insight, because like I say, a lot of people have aggressive dogs and they think I'll try and do this on my own, not realising actually that's a massive risk. Okay, so like I say, if this is a problem that you're struggling with, make sure to get in-person help. Do not get online help only, okay? If a dog trainer only offers online consultations and online sessions, forget about it. If you have an aggressive dog, you need a professional who specialises in aggression and reactivity, and you need to have in-person sessions. They might take place at a facility or your home, but you need to have in-person sessions when you're dealing with aggressive behaviour. Okay, it's very delicate, needs to be addressed with a lot of caution and a lot of care. So on that note, I'm gonna love you and leave you, and hopefully I'll see you in our next live video. It will be taking place next Monday at 7:30 p.m, so hopefully I'll see you guys then.